If you are on a subclass 491 visa right now, or if you have been planning to use the 491 as your pathway to Australian permanent residency, then what is happening in May and June 2026 could completely change your entire migration strategy. And if you are not paying attention, you might wake up one day and find that the window you were counting on has quietly closed behind you. Stay with me because in the next few minutes, I am going to break down exactly what the Department of Home Affairs is signaling, what it means for anyone chasing the 491, and why more and more applicants are being pushed toward employer sponsorship through the ENS subclass 186, whether they were ready for that or not. And if updates like this matter to you, please subscribe to this channel right now and hit the bell icon, because this kind of critical immigration news comes out fast, and you do not want to miss the next one. So let us talk about what is actually going on. The subclass 491 Skilled Work Regional Provisional Visa has been one of the most popular pathways into Australia for skilled migrants over the past few years. The appeal is obvious. You get 15 bonus points just for committing to regional Australia, you get a 5-year visa, and after 3 years of living and working in a regional area and meeting the income requirements, you become eligible for the subclass 191, which is permanent residency. It sounds clean. It sounds simple. And for a lot of people, it was a lifeline when their point score was not quite high enough for the 189 or the 190. But here in 2026, that lifeline is starting to look a lot thinner than it used to. Here is what the data is telling us. For the 2025 to 2026 program year, the Department of Home Affairs reduced the 491 allocation to just 7,500 places, down from 9,760 places the year before. That is a 23% reduction in a single year. And if you think the department is going to suddenly reverse that trend and open the floodgates again, think carefully, because the signals coming out of Canberra right now point in the exact opposite direction. One planet migration. Within the overall skilled migration stream, the government is directing more places toward employer-sponsored visas and the subclass 189 and 190 categories, leaving fewer seats for regional nominees under the 491. And that shift is not accidental. It is deliberate policy. The government has made it very clear through its budget and planning announcements that employer-sponsored migration is where it wants to focus its energy. The message from the Department of Home Affairs right now is essentially this. If you want to come to Australia, go and find an employer who will sponsor you for the ENS subclass 186. That is a permanent visa from day one. That is what the department wants to see more of. One planet migration. Now let us be honest about what this means on the ground. In 2026, the 491 visa operates in a more constrained, targeted, and competitive environment than in previous years. States and territories are now selecting more selectively, prioritizing specific occupations, stronger evidence, and applicants who clearly fit their regional workforce needs. So even if you do get a nomination, the competition has intensified dramatically. Real-world invitation data shows most successful 491 applicants need between 85 and 100 or more points depending on their occupation and nominating state. If you were sitting at 75 or 80 points thinking you had a decent shot, you need to recalculate right now. AUS's Group 1 Planet Migration. And then there is the situation with individual states. New South Wales, one of the most sought-after destinations, has already closed Pathway 1 and Pathway 3 for the subclass 491 for the entire program year ending June 30th, 2026, after reaching its allocation due to an overwhelming response. Gone. Finished. And that happened just weeks after the program opened. So for people who were waiting, researching, or still getting their documents together, the door slammed shut before they even got a chance to knock. NSW government. Meanwhile, the ENS subclass 186 is being positioned as the government's preferred permanent solution. From July 1st, 2026, the Australian government is introducing significant changes to employer-sponsored visas, and the core skills income threshold for the subclass 186 will rise to $79,499. Yes, the salary bar is going up, but the pathway itself is becoming more structured, more supported, and more clearly favored by the department. An employer nominates you, you come in, and you are a permanent resident. No regional living conditions, no 3 years of waiting, no hoping the subclass 191 requirements stay the same by the time you get there. Legal vision. The mistake a lot of people are making right now is waiting. They are sitting on their 491 plans, thinking the allocations will go back up next year, or that some new policy will save them, or that their point score is close enough that they will eventually get there. But the trend is telling a different story. Every year that passes, the 491 competition tightens, the state requirements get stricter, and the employer-sponsored pathway gets more clearly favored. Employer-sponsored visas now dominate the 2026 landscape, suiting workers who already have Australian job offers and want a faster path into the country's labor market. Visa Verge. So what should you actually do if you are in this situation? First, honestly assess your 491 prospects right now. Look at your point score and compare it to real invitation data, not what was happening 2 or 3 years ago. If you are not sitting comfortably above 85 points, and if your occupation is not in one of the priority clusters that states are focusing on, like healthcare, trades, infrastructure, or certain engineering and ICT roles, then you need a plan B, and you need it urgently. Second, start seriously exploring employer sponsorship. Yes, finding an employer to sponsor you for the subclass 186 takes effort. It means getting into the Australian job market, demonstrating your skills, and finding a business that is willing to go through the sponsorship process. But the department is essentially telling you that this is the direction Australian migration is heading. The more selective the 491 becomes, the more valuable a sponsored job offer is. Third, do not miss the July 1st, 2026 deadline for nominations and salary compliance. April, May, and June are the busiest months of the year for lodgements leading up to the salary threshold, and Department of Home Affairs fee increases on July 1st, and the IMI account system can become congested during this period. If you have anything ready to lodge it before the end of June. Mapian, the 491 is not technically dead yet, but the trajectory is unmistakable. Fewer places, more competition, stricter states, and a department that is increasingly pointing skilled migrants toward employer sponsorship as the preferred route to permanent residency. If you have been treating the 491 as your safe fallback option, it is time to take a hard, clear-eyed look at that assumption. The smart move right now is to build your strategy around what the department actually wants, and right now, what it wants is employer nomination. If this update was useful to you, please share it with someone who needs to hear it, leave a comment below with your situation, and I will do my best to point you in the right direction. And make sure you are subscribed so you do not miss the next critical update. Australian immigration is moving fast in 2026, and staying informed is the only way to stay ahead.